Fred Harvey is an American business icon that is unfortunately a relative unknown. He embodies the definition of an entrepreneur in his savvy, risk-taking, and forward-thinking. The book Appetite for America by Stephen Fried gives a detailed history of the Harvey Empire, which can still be seen or discovered in various towns and parks across the U.S. today. The book Appetite for America outlines marketing principles that point to the Harvey family as revolutionary marketers. There are three specific topics the book speaks to on a number of occasions: branding, done in very specific detail, the adaptability of Harvey men across multiple platforms, and the differentiation of product integration into their overall strategy. One of the major themes strung throughout the book is the Harvey house's ability to, quote, civilize the West. I really like this theme and analogy because of all the details regarding their branding efforts in the book. The train stations in towns at the time were highly undesirable places, only good for a quick stretch of the legs. But Harvey saw something different. He saw opportunity. The implementation of his brand was crucial to the theme of civilizing the West. The civilization came through a number of fronts, practices like the Cup Code to the napkins purchased in Belfast for the new locations. And all of the Harveys were sticklers for great, consistent service. An NPR article on Fred Harvey points out the fact that Harvey would run to the front of the trains to get into the restaurant before patrons to check that everything was in order. He was a stickler for brand image of Harvey houses and the continuity of each at the different stops. Most important to the branding efforts were the Harvey girls. The first placed in Raton, New Mexico station, the girls were hired to create a friendlier atmosphere and eliminate the rough housing typically seen in New Mexico. The movie Harvey Girls Opportunity Bound by Katrina gives great insight into the lives of the Harvey girls and the ripple effects it had on women's suffrage. The girls brought a calming presence to the houses and a special operational willpower not seen in local restaurants. The girls were eager to work and worked very hard, which gave Harvey the ability to manage the environment of his houses, which, as Dr. Gerlich points out in his lecture on services marketing, is one of the hardest control barriers for service providers. Adding the Harvey girls' work ethic to a detailed training and guidelines Fred Harvey set forth, the brand was consistent and highly regarded all across the U.S. A major contention that came from the video comes towards the end when the great-granddaughters of Fred Harvey contended that they did not believe that the previous Harvey generation would be able to adapt to a more modern service environment. I couldn't disagree any stronger. I saw the marketing principle of adaptability in all three Harvey men consistently throughout the book. Fred, Ford, and Freddie had instances where they saw opportunities and were not afraid to jump in. Ideas like the XY Cattle Ranch for food sourcing, Indian jewelry, national park catering, and train car catering were all major entrepreneurial decisions. All three Harveys were able to see local opportunities as well. Fred in Las Vegas and Montezuma, Ford in the Grand Canyon and Santa Fe, and Freddie with major transitions within the emerging context of highway car travel with La Posada and air travel with the Albuquerque airport. Each Harvey man had acumen to see what others did not at the time and to invest and adapt early on. Many businesses fail at this even today. Adapting in the changing environment is really tough. The last principle of differentiation is tied to the branding of the Harvey houses, but distinct in a couple areas, specifically the architecture of the houses and hotels in New Mexico. In hiring Miss Mary Coulter to design the locations, not simply for their functionality, but for personality, the Harvey hotels are differentiated from their competitors, which, as Dr. Gerlich points out, can be done through quality, price, and offerings. As the Southwest was gaining appeal for leisure travel, specifically from Chicago, the architectural design and Indian influence pulled in customers because of as a destination, not simply just a stop. When told his coffee was good and house too small, Harvey responded, "Righto, but I'm going to make coffee so good that the boys will come no matter how far they have to walk." I think that about sums up Fred Harvey and his vision for the Harvey Empire outlined in the book and movie.